YouTube, what's good with y'all, man? It's your boy Goat Mill. I'm back with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn that post notification bell on, follow me on all my socials, and yeah, let's get into this video today. Now, some of you may know I'm a big Lucki fan. He's been in my top 5 favorites for a very long time now, and I just feel like he was a big standout when he was on his come up. The first Lucki project I ever heard was Free Wave 2 back in 2016, back when his name was Lucki X. A close friend actually put me on to this project, and although it wasn't completely stand out the box material, it was kind of refreshing. It is always nice to come across a new artist or get put on to an artist that seems to really fit your lane. Me personally, I think Free Wave 2 is an A-tier project from Lucki. I think it's probably an 8 out of 10, and I think it ages really well. Moving a year forward to his Watch My Back project, which is probably the most resonated with a lot of OG Lucki fans. It definitely brings a lot of memories back with me, especially with the songs No Walk and Options. I think Watch My Back kind of sits around the 7s in that range, in which I don't think is bad at all. I think it's a solid project, but not really better than any of the other albums that he has in his catalog. Free Wave 3 and Days Before 3, I don't really even need to get into those projects. I think we can all agree that those are classics among Lucki's catalog. And then in 2020, there was Almost There. Fun fact, Almost There was the first vinyl record I purchased among my collection. I really wanted the Days Before 3 record as well, but they didn't have it in stock at the time. Moving on to the end of 2021, we have Wake Up Lucki. Now, this was a controversial one. A lot of Lucki fans have a lot of mixed opinions about this album. And call me crazy if you want, but I think this can be Lucki's best album, arguably. Other than the track Love Is War, I don't really find any skips on this album. It's a smooth listen every single time, and I can't just go to one song. I have to play multiple every time I listen to it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Wake Up Lucki is underappreciated, or do you think it's fairly rated among fans? Towards the latter half of 2022, Lucki dropped Follows Like Me, which was essentially his breakout album after multiple hit lead singles going viral. Sold about 25,000 first week, and again, I feel like this is another one that a lot of people have mixed opinions about. I feel like some people grew off of Lucki with this one. Me personally, I feel like it was solid. Nothing more than that. A lot of people were concerned for Lucki's health, as he did sound a little more drowsy than usual on this album and just kind of like stuffed up. But regardless, I think there are way too many good songs on this album for people to call it average or bad. So I think it belongs around the 7s range. As for Sex Money Drugs, I liked Sex Money Drugs, but I kind of just grew off of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. When it first came out, I think I gave it a 7.5, and I think that kind of goes down now due to the lack of replay value I have for it. But regardless, it's not bad, but just kind of filler-ish. And now we move on to his 2024 album titled Gemini, in which, in terms of popularity, Lucki just seems to keep climbing up and climbing up. The album is 20 tracks. A lot of people didn't really like this, as we are in the era of long albums and people just making bloated projects in general, in which I didn't really have a problem with this, because the only other bloated album he's ever given us was Flawless Like Me, which was around 23 tracks, I think. So I mean, it's not like Lucki does it often, so something like that didn't really turn me away. The lead singles leading up to this album I think are all great and kind of fit the aesthetic of it. I think my favorite single from that bunch is All Love. That beat is just infectious, and Lucki's just coasting through, giving his usual one-liners that he always gives. It's the perfect length, short and sweet. I think it's my favorite among the group. I feel like this album really starts off strong with the first couple of songs, especially with the first track On Their Way and the third track CTA, in which I think CTA is probably a top 5 track on this album. I just feel like Lucki and Bristow working together, they just cannot miss at all. I really love hearing those two together, and probably Lucki and Brent Rambo. Now, when I saw who was all featured on this album, I knew at some point I was going to be a little conflicted. Moving on to the 5th track, Bigaville. I feel like this cut is cool. It doesn't really do too much for me. I feel like Yachty kind of outperforms Lucki on this one. The next track with Lucki, Rallo, and V's. A lot of people seem to like this one, but it just really hasn't done it for me, and I just kind of end up skipping it every time I go through the album. Moving on to the 7th track, Brazy For Real. This one's definitely one of my favorites. Lucki just kind of goes on detailing that these rappers aren't really about what they rap about, and that they don't really live a certain lifestyle. The next track, Exotic. I feel like there's always a track in every single Lucki album that has this obscure instrument. Does anybody else catch that? Like how in Sex Money Drugs there's Tune Vert, and on Almost There there's Running With. I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's become a part of Lucki with these specific beat selections. The 9th track, Baby Goat, with a feature from Future. Off of my first listen on this, I think Lucki got carried by Future on this, but as I listened to it more, I started to like Lucki's verse a little bit more. Definitely one of the best tracks on the album, for sure. The 10th track, Kylie, like I said, Lucki and Bristow are just a great combo together. I don't even know how you would describe this beat, but regardless of it, Lucki's doing his thing on it. It just matches the energy. The next track, Dotted Line, Lucki kind of switches up the flow and just makes up for an all-around groovy track. I like how Lucki and his producers have kind of amped it up quality wise, as Lucki's kind of tried new stuff and tried new beats that probably artists younger than him would hop on. The 12th track, Signed Up, was kind of a skip for me. I just kind of see it as forgettable and I don't really have any desire to go back to it. Moving on to the 13th track, Twin Flow, probably a top 3 track on this album. Not only is this beat by Icy and Mayday absolutely insane, but Lucki and V's are just absolutely tag teaming it, in which after hearing that V's feature, I don't know, him and Future, who has the best feature on this album? Let me know in the comments. The 14 track 3 Summer Straight, this one's kind of forgettable to me as well, and I feel like Lucki got carried on this one. I feel like this one just matched Rilo and 42 Dugg a lot more than it did Lucki. The 15 track X6, this one kind of reminds me of Baby Pluto from his last album, Sex Money Drugs. I don't know, maybe just a similar instruments in it. The 16 track Hustler Music, I feel like the loops on this album have been really good. Lucki kind of comes in with this swaying, nodding flow and just really kind of complements the beat well. Moving on to the 17 track Heavy on My Heart, this is one of the lead singles leading up to the album. I'm sure everybody's heard it by now. I'm not really going to go over it. It's a great track in my opinion. Moving on to the next track, Ski Would It Be. Lucki's ear for these beats have been insane, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like with how good this beat is, Lucki could have came a little bit harder, but regardless, it's still a track that I enjoy. Moving on to the 19th track, RIP. We need someone to make a loop of this along with the song No Bap, because it kind of sounds like a slowed version of it, or at least the beat, however. I feel like this track was very good placement. Lucki's got his usual one-liners that I enjoy. Good track in my opinion. Moving on to the last and final track of this album, Outro. Why are Lucki's outros always one of low-key the best songs on the album? And back to what I was saying about earlier about Lucki trying new things, this first beat of the outro, you would never hear Lucki hopping on this type of beat years ago. I promise. And he's actually doing really well on this beat too. That is until we get about 2.5 minutes into the song and it's hit with this very cold beat switch. And it kind of just low-key blows the first half of the song out of the water. Do you think Lucki should have made this second half an entire track by itself, or you think it fits right well with the first half? But regardless, I think the second half of this is amazing. I think this is a great way to close out the album. All in all, I think this is another solid work from Lucki. I feel like this album had really good structure aside from some of the features. I think this is a better album than Flawless Like Me. I think it's better than Sex Money Drugs. And yeah, this album has been really enjoyable for me. I think I'm going to give this a 7.8. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think it should be rated higher or lower, or do you think I got it just right? But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, follow all of my socials, join my Discord, and be on the lookout for the next video. It's a special one. But yeah, it's your boy GoMill. We out.